Welcome to Alaap e-Ashor. I am Ranjini. We'll be having a conversation with a renowned sitar player. At a very tender age, he has been introduced to the world of music. When he was 5, he started playing violin and piano, and later he decided to be a sitar player. We will get to know his journey and how he has traveled all across the world for his performances. He does orchestral composition and soundtracks for movies. He has also got a connection with the city of joy, Kolkata. Before we welcome him, we have actually captured different moods of our guest, which you'd like to share with you. Please welcome Jonathan Mayer.
Very much. It's wonderful to join everyone virtually online. Thank you.
Thank you, John, for joining Alaap e-Ashor. It's our absolute pleasure to have you. I know, however, we are in a different state and different frame at the moment, but you are always so busy with your creation, with your composition and everything. And it's our pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure.
So tell me how this year 2020 is treating you at the moment.
Oh man. Ups and downs. I mean, it began very well. So I have a big project which happened in February, which I'll tell you about later on, and that was great. That went ahead, and we did the recording, but then within that was in February, beginning of February. So within a month, everything just shut down. And I've got another project on the go as well. So lots of things in the pipeline. But the one thing that's really hit is not being able to perform to people. So I've done quite a few online concerts, which have been great, but you miss that personal interaction with the audience and people. So yeah, it's very surreal. That's the word for 2020. Surreal.
Absolutely. And somewhere, like people who are like me, who actually enjoy sitting in the audience, we are also missing this all kinds of grandeur, this ambience and the lovely environment of music and everything. So it's a shame at the end of the day, but we are doing good at the moment. I believe it's almost like we are looking forward to next year. So this
Yeah,
is something.
I guess the most important thing is our health. So if we can tackle this virus, then that's a good thing. The arts will come back, but here in the UK, the arts have taken a very big hit.
True, true. And somewhere actually this art and culture, music is helping. All these things is actually helping us to somewhere, to feel good and to keep us busy with all these kinds of lovely creation and lovely environment of music.
Yeah, and it's funny because everything's shifted to being online. But imagine if this happened 20, 30 years ago. There wasn't that online interaction. Um, you know, even 100 years ago when there was the other pandemic with the Spanish flu, people just probably didn't know what was going on. They went to concerts anyway, but now people know not to go to concerts. If it wasn't for being online and doing things like this, then it would be a very lonely world.
Right, like digitally somewhere we are ready to handle this e-platform and digital platform and somewhere, keep aside the virus for a moment and we can go ahead and enjoy even for even half an hour. That's a lot for us.
Great. Okay.
Coming back to your, you spoke about your digital program and recording and stuff. So how did you find it? Because before year 2020, we never used digital platforms so much like we are using it now.
So before all of this happened, I used to do a few Facebook, little Facebook sort of videos of me playing, and I just thought I didn't really like doing them. But then obviously things changed so quickly and so drastically. And I think the first time I realized that this is the way forward is that I had a private performance at somebody's house arranged, and it was just as the lockdown was happening. And so what we decided to do is to do a live stream on YouTube. So it's like a private video, only they can watch it. And that's sort of, they said, hey, this works really well, because they had me up in their living room on their big TV and speakers. So then I thought, well, this is going to be probably for a long period of time. So I decided I'd invest in some nice microphones and a webcam, and set up my studio. And so far, I've done quite a few performances. I've done a Take Five series on YouTube. And the idea is to just take 5 minutes, to meditate, relax, or do whatever you want. And so I just play something Alaap, very slow and meditative, for those 5 minutes. And I've done a series of online concerts as well for other arts organizations.
As you're saying, it seems like this is your creative lounge. You are
Yes, it is. Yeah, this is my studio. This is actually my grand piano here, which I've covered, and then
right.
I've got my sitars up here and one here. And this is a soundproof studio that I got built for recording. But now it's turned into my little space. I've got my nice carpets down and rugs, and I'll come in here and do my riyaz, my practice, and yeah, do a lot of creating and a lot of online stuff as well.
Right. We will come to that, the transition from piano and violin to sitar.
Mm.
So we will come to that. But before, it seems like you have been introduced to the world of music, at very early age. So tell us something about your childhood days, your growing up years.
I think I should explain a bit about my family then. So let me start on my mother's side, because a lot of people know about my father, but not many people know about my mother and my mother's side. So my mother was a professional violinist and pianist. She went to the Royal Academy, and her father, my grandfather, Albert Hepton, was co-leader of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra in London through the 1950s. And he taught me violin at a very early age. So I started when I was the age of 5 in violin. And then I learned from a piano teacher called James Methuen Campbell, and he taught me piano. So I did violin and piano from the age of 5. So we had an extremely musical household. However, um, it was a very professional musical household. So we didn't gather around the piano and do sing songs at 9 o'clock at night. It was very much seen as a profession. So yeah, so that was my mum's side. My mum's violin and pianist, and my grandfather on my mum's side was a violinist, and then my dad's side. So my dad was born in Kolkata, from Anglo-Indian father, and a Tamil Madrasi was my grandmother. And so my grandfather was a dock worker, so he wasn't musical at all, and my grandmother was a teacher. But at an early age, my dad showed interest in music, so they got some money together and were able to buy him a violin, and took him to the Calcutta School of Music at the time, and managed to wangle some free lessons. So my dad was a professional musician, and he started from an early age. He studied violin, and then got a scholarship to travel by boat from Bombay or Mumbai, to go over to to come over to London to study at the Royal Academy. And that was the Bombay Madrigal Singers at the time, put the money up. So he came over in the first year, he paid it, but they only paid him for 1 year. After then, he got a job straight away playing the violin. He also studied composition. And then by the 1960s, he was really a full-time composer. So, yeah, when I was born in 1975, my dad was working with Emerson, Lake and Palmer and with James Galway, the flautist, writing his flute concerto. So my early memories are practice, also going to concerts, I used to travel around the world with my dad. So we went to Los Angeles, to New York, all the way around Europe, going concert halls for rehearsals and concerts. So that was my earliest memories, really.
So were you a quiet kid or really a restless kid at that time?
I used to fall asleep. in the concerts, I used to fall asleep. And now I look back at it, and that my mum used to say, "Oh, you were snoring so loudly that it was really bad." I was only about 4 or 5 years old, but now I look back at it, it's because I was so relaxed. It's that environment, and my father's music was so relaxing for me, and felt so comforting knowing that he was there in person and there within the music, that I was just happy to fall asleep. Um,
Uh,
but when my grandfather died when I was about 12 years old, so I've been doing violin and piano from 5 till the age of 12. And I did my grades. I used to get so nervous with the grades. I got to grade 3, and then I decided I didn't want to do grades anymore. But my mum and dad said, "That's fine. Just keep playing. You don't have to do your grades." So I probably got to about grade 6 or 7 on piano, grade 7 or 8 on violin. And then at the age of 12, my grandfather passed away, and I decided that's it. I don't want to have anything to do with music, because my mum and dad were musicians. I rebelled. I didn't want to do music. And then within 6 months, I was saying, "Mum, Dad, could you buy me a little keyboard, please?" So then I would take it to my room and play that. And suddenly I got a bigger keyboard. And then I started writing my own songs at the time. As a teenager, I wanted to be a pop star. And then by the age of 15, 16, I started to discover or rediscover my father's music. Firstly, with the Indo-Jazz fusions, which was written back in 1966, and then with a recording called Dhammapada, which traced the roots of Buddhism from India through the Far East, but through the medium of music. And there was a sitar solo in that, and I thought, wow, this instrument is just so beautiful. Luckily, we had some family friends coming over from Kolkata, and they picked me up my first sitar, which is here, and I just started learning. And it wasn't a drive to learn or to do anything. It just seemed like a natural path for me to take. And at the time, to be honest, I wanted to be an astrophysicist. But to be an astrophysicist, I think you need maths, physics, God knows what else. Anyway, I realized when I did my GCSE that I wasn't going to be an astrophysicist. I flunked just about everything apart from music. And when I sat my music GCSE exam, I didn't go to any of the classroom lessons. The music teacher at the school said, "Oh, Jonathan, I hear you play a bit of violin." I said, "Yeah, I used to play." And he goes, why would you like to sit the GCSE exam?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I haven't learnt haven't been to any of the lessons." He said, "Well, we can put you forward if you want." I said, "Well, okay." So I didn't do any of the lessons. I didn't know. I sat the exam and I thought, well, this is quite easy. And then I had to write 2 compositions. That was easy. I had to play a piece. I did Moonlight Sonata on the piano. And then that was my highest grade out of all of my GCSE. So I thought, well, maybe I should just stick to music.
that is something it's in your gene actually. You don't have to work hard for that, I believe.
Well, this is it as well. I didn't have to work hard. I mean, I'm very fortunate in that, the theory side of things. But Riaz, you have to work hard when you get to a certain stage in your music. You have to practice.
Definitely. And thanks to you, you have absolutely taken the right decision to keep music with yourself, because that's why we actually absolutely mesmerized by your performances, your compositions, your, creation.
Thank you.
So how often do you actually travel to Kolkata, or even if I say India?
So we used to go quite when I was a kid. I probably went 2 or 3 times up to the age of 10. My uncle used to live in Delhi, and he used to be the principal of the Frank Anthony School in Delhi. So we used to go over and see him, and my cousins as well all used to live in Delhi. Now they've all moved. One lives in Los Angeles, the other two are in Canada. And even my auntie Alicia, who lived in Dehradun, has moved out. So I have no family now in India, which is sad. Um, but I was over in Kolkata about 2 years ago, and I'm planning to go this January, but I don't know.
Fingers crossed. Let's see.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. So I mean, I made the decision 3 years ago because obviously my father was born in India and had an Indian passport that I could get an OCI. So I've got that, and I'm very proud of it. But also, it means that I can go to Kolkata quite often. Um, and when I do go to India, it is always to Kolkata.
On this note, I would definitely like to ask you, if you need to describe the city, Kolkata, how would you like to do that?
Wow, it's changed so much, hasn't it? And so I remember when I first went, and you have the trams down in Joringi, and then we had a friend, I can't remember his name, and he had this balcony that overlooked Joringi, and you could just see these old trams going up and down. Now I think there's a flyover there. And then I think I went in the 90s, and it was really quite then it was quite dirty. But when I've been recently, it's cleaned up quite a bit. But saying that, I think Kolkata is the most Indian of Indian cities, if that makes sense. It hasn't really. I mean, I know it's got a bit of a McDonald's there, but it hasn't really been taken over by the capital consumerism that you might get in Mumbai or Delhi. It's got its own character. Um, it's vibrant. It's almost definitely the center of music, I would say. Amazing tabla players, sitar makers. And when I go, I feel there's a really beautiful musical community of sharing. And then we'll all just get together and play something. Hey, try this, and it's really lovely. So yeah, I do love Kolkata, and it's where my dad was born.
Has anybody addressed you as Dada? Because that's what in Kolkata everyone says,
Yeah,
Dada or Didi.
yeah. No, I get a few people calling me Dada. Yeah, only recently. I'm not that often, so anyway. But yeah, yeah.
So doesn't matter what's the age, and it's everybody, it's like Dada or Didi. That's what we love to address.
Oh.
Like, coming back to your performances, the first time actually you made a public performance, what was the instrument, how was the ambience, environment, everything we would like to know from you at the moment.
My first public performance was when I must have been 10 or 11, and it was playing the Messiah, Handel's Messiah. I was second violins, and I was sat next to, was it my mum or my grandfather? I can't remember. And I wasn't scared because I knew I had my mum next to me, my dad and my grandfather and my brother. We were all playing in the violin section, and the difficult thing for me, I don't know if many people know about the Messiah, but there's lots of periods which are tacit. Tacit means rest. So you would be playing some notes, and you can see the music, and I'm reading the music and saying, okay, da, da, da. And then it says 48 bars rest. And so you're there and you have to go, sometimes it's really slow. Say it's in 4 beats, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, like that up to 48. And I lose count. So then I have to look at my mum and look at my dad. Where are we? I never get it. I could never get it. So that was good fun actually. Then I did some school performances on piano and violin. There's a few solos. In sixth form, I played to the school on violin. But my first sitar performance was I'd only been playing about a year, 2 years, and my dad had written a piece called the Shanta Quintet, which was for sitar and string quartet, and I could just about play it then. So that was my first professional performance on the sitar.
Wow. So beautifully, I can absolutely visualize it the way you mentioned who was sitting where was you actually. So thank you so much.
That's okay.
So, and then I'm just thinking like you can play violin, piano. How come this, sitar actually overtaken this too? And you completely actually focused on sitar at the moment.
So I should point out I don't play violin anymore. You really don't want to hear me play violin now. It's not very good. I do play a bit of piano now and again. So for me, it was almost it's a matter of identity for me, my cultural identity. My mother's English, my father's Indian, so I'm half of me is Western, half of me is Indian. So I started off with learning Western music, and for that, I should be forever grateful because I can read and write Western music. I studied composition from my father as well, uh, but I felt the urge to do a bit more on my Indian side, so I decided to take up the sitar. And so for me, it's a really lovely balance to play the sitar and also really to compose and to mix the two genres together, or the two cultures together, of Western and Indian, because by definition that's my identity.
True. What would you like to say to the next generation kids regarding these three instruments? Violin, piano, and sitar.
um I think violin and piano is probably if you want to study Western music, piano or guitar is your best bet. Why? Because you study harmony as well. So with the piano, you got 10 fingers, so you can actually play 10 notes at the same time, or a chord. And these chords are the basis of Western music, because Western music uses something called harmony, which harmony means C major, da 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 da, and you see a guitarist strumming different chords. That is, in a sense, is harmony. Now in Indian music, we don't have that. We have melody, rhythm, tabla, and we have drone, tampura. We don't have harmony. So if you wanted to go down the Western route, piano or guitar is a really good bet. If you want to learn the fundamentals of it. But for the lyrical beauty, violin is lovely, and that's a good thing about with Western instruments. They're so different. Each one has got its own different color and timbre, and that's what the beauty is of putting that together with an orchestra and getting all these different sounds. So that's great. But if you want to learn sitar, people say you can learn vocals first of all. Vocal training does really help. So even if you're learning sitar or any instrument, you usually learn oral or vocal techniques as well, just so you can be able to sing in tune. That's all you have to do. Because if you're playing the sitar, basically you're singing it first and then you're playing it. If you can't sing it in tune in your head, you've got no chance of playing it in tune on the actual instrument. So it's that way of learning like that. The other thing, the sitar is quite a big instrument. It's quite big, so you have to be a certain age to play it, or you can get a smaller sitar. That helps, and it's tough on the fingers as well. So a lot of people I teach, sometimes they last a month or so. My fingers are hurting. It does hurt. You just got to go through the pain barrier.
But it's very very useful information, and the guidance and the suggestions whatever you made, it's definitely it's going to it helped me as well. I get to know so many new things from you. just on this conversation. We are talking about, obviously you like to play different genre of music. So particularly if I ask you which one is your favorite or very close to your heart, very difficult to say that.
No, there is no favorite. There is no favorite. I listen to absolutely all genres. I mean, I own a record company as well. I probably might not know this, but I own a record company called First Hand Records, and we predominantly put out Western classical music. But then, if you look at Western classical music, Western classical music doesn't exist per se. You've got classical genre, which would be your Beethoven, Mozart. You've got romantic, which is Chopin, um, Brahms, Mahler, Wagner. 20th century, Stravinsky, Schoenberg. Avant-garde, then, well, you're looking at some of the new, avant-garde. Ligeti, he's avant-garde. And then nowadays, we've got Steve Reich, John Adams. But so, there's all these different, and you can go back further. So then you got Baroque, you got Bach, Handel, Purcell, and then you got Renaissance, which is back even further, and you got Thomas Tallis. So those are all different genres within it. So that's aside. Then you got jazz. Then you got fusion, which is a bit of a weird word because fusion could just mean anything, really. And then you've got folk. But what folk? Because then you can break it down: Rajasthani folk, Bengali folk, Baul. We can go anywhere around the world. Afghani
Quite
folk.
a broad spectrum, yeah.
So you can imagine that. I listen to a lot of Bulgarian folk music, fantastic stuff. So I listen to that. Obviously, listen to a lot of jazz, Herbie Hancock. I listen to a lot of jazz funk. I listen to a lot early 1980s pop music. Love it. So it depends what mood. That's the thing about music. It can enlighten the moods that you want.
Right.
So if you're feeling energetic or happy, then I'll put on some Fatback Band or from the 1985, 86. Or if I want to relax, I might put on one of the Beethoven string quartets. I like his late string quartets; are really great. So if I'm feeling inspired, Stravinsky, The Rite the Spring, fantastic piece. So I listen to so much, and I love so much. There's good music in all genres. And there's also bad music in all genres as well.
And also, I think partly depends on your mood as well, isn't it? Like what it's there on how you're feeling on that particular day.
Yeah. But that's where it ties into Indian classical music, which is what I play predominantly. Is that it's all about the rasta, it's all about the mood that you're creating. So that mood, my job is to enlighten that mood and take you on my journey, on my rasa, my mood. So it's great.
Right. Let me rephrase this question again, actually, and let me come to the point straight. At the moment, what is your mood and what you'd like to play for all our viewers?
So I'd like to play Rag on Sitar, just a little bit of Alaap. It's a lovely rug, and actually, the reason I chose this one is that it's sort of somewhat quite close to Western classical. The Bach uses quite a bit of this sort of feel. So, Rag.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, John. You have absolutely changed the mood of this Alaap e-Ashor. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
I was thinking actually when you were playing the music, it has absolutely taken me to a different, mood, as I said. So you are currently working with orchestra, symphonic writing, and you are creating orchestral music and all. So how you're finding it, like whether it's very challenging or just tell us about your thoughts and
Well, I mean, the thing about composing is it's very lonely because you're literally sat there with a pencil and a piece of manuscript paper, and it's the initial idea or spark which is the most difficult thing. So I'll be driving in the car and then I'll have my phone and record. I'll come to an idea and I'll just speak it out and dictate it. Or I might be on the train or something and then I'll write a little melody out or an idea or structure. But once you've got the melody, as far as composition is concerned, the rest of it deals with itself. What I mean by that is that when you study composition, you study how to develop a melody, how to develop structure, um, and there's different structures within classical music that you might want to borrow. And the composition, so the orchestral side of it, you know how to write for different instruments to get the different colors that you want. So there's lots of tools that you can use once you study composition. That means that once you've got a small melody, you can expand that. So, but all of that, once again, it's either writing with a piece. I always write down by the piano and I'll do a rough sketch on manuscript paper. Then I sit down on the computer and input it all into a computer program. And it's a lonely sort of business to do it. But I've been doing quite a bit with a conductor called Debashish Chaudhary from Kolkata, who now lives in Prague, in the Czech Republic. And so he wanted to do one of my dad's pieces. So we went there, and then I had written a Sitar concerto many years back. So we decided to do that. Then that led to do a commission for the London Philharmonic Orchestra called Dissecting Desh on Rag Desh. And I got another commission from the London Philharmonic Orchestra, which is performed at the Royal Festival Hall for a piece called Young Person's Guide to Indian Music. And that was looking at breaking down the elements of Indian music, but with the orchestra playing it. Then I went to the Czech Republic and did many performances with Debashish and a few commissions. And two of the latest ones is one called Pranam. And Pranam is quite a short piece, only 10 minutes long, and it's based on Kathak. So it's got tabla, sitar, and full orchestra, and all of the compositions within it are all Kathak moves. So eventually, one day, I'd love to get it performed on stage with live Kathak dancers. But yeah, that's going to be a big project. Also, I wrote a second sitar concerto, and that was great. That was premiered last year in November. And at the beginning of the show, I talked about the project that I'm doing this year in 2020. And that is recording. So we recorded my second sitar concerto, Pranam, my father's second violin concerto, and his concerto for the instruments of the orchestra with the BBC National Orchestra of Wales. And that's hopefully going to be released at the end of this year or the beginning of 2021.
seems like very exciting upcoming projects, as well as the way you describe, like creative outbursts could happen anywhere. You don't need a specific time, specific zone. It could be any moment, and you can absolutely create magic.
I think the first thing for me is coming up with the idea. So, for argument's sake, with the Sitar concerto, the idea was to make it in a Western idiom. So, sometimes previously, what happens is the orchestra will play something like the tambura in the background and sitar solos over the top. But I tried to make a true concerto. A concerto means a fighting between the orchestra and the soloist. So I tried to make it more integrated, loosely
Right.
based on rag, but the second movement is quite atonal. Atonal means it sounds like a horror movie. So
It's so many new words to for me actually to really remember. Now I can, after this conversation, when I'll go through any of these articles, I know what they are actually meaning.
there we go. So if you go, tonal music is Indian rag music is tonal music. All Bollywood is tonal music. All
Okay.
folk is tonal music. Uh, Most of it is tonal. Atonal is if you listen to music in a horror film and it sounds like screeching and stuff. That's atonality. But it's
Oh,
beautiful in its own way. It's beautiful because it creates a mood,
yes,
scary mood.
true. Yep. Yeah, true. Now, when we are talking about this horror and scary, I'm just you have done so many soundtracks for movies as well.
Well, I've
So,
done a few. Yeah, I've done a few. I've done a lot of library music. That's writing pictures and it goes into adverts, and your music is played in. I think somewhere in Korea it's played. I've just there was a film I did recently called Written in Ashes, but it hasn't been released yet. So it's me and another composer that did that, and I did the end credits for it uh,
uh,
and stuff like that. Um, and I was looking into writing more film music, but I realized that the process I like being on stage and I like to share my music as what it is. You know, if you're writing for a film, you're writing for the director and that mood. So you have to be flexible. So you can't write exactly what you want.
so do you actually lose freedom? Like, do you think so? It's something. Is it something in your mind? Like when you are performing, for the audience on a particular venue, that is your place where you can do what you want to do. But
That's
when there are,
Yes, you're right. So when I get a commission to write, maybe through the Arts Council or whatever, then I can put in my own input. It's my music. But if I'm writing for a film, then you're writing for a product. You're writing for that film, where there's directors and producers, and they generally have an idea of what music they want. So
true,
you
because
yeah, so you're writing to their idiom, so to speak. So that's yeah. So I mean, I've done a bit of it, but I haven't pushed myself in the film writing films.
right. Let us talk about Victoria and Abdul because that is say something. How was your experience? Because you had a screen presence as well as you were the part of the music team as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I got a call. They're looking for a sitarist for this film. And originally it was to play some music in the background. So we went to Abbey Road Studios and we recorded sitar and tabla. And it was great. It sounded really nice. I was really happy with it. And then they said, "Look, we're looking for a sitarist to be on stage on camera." And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And that all went forward. So then we had to have a meeting with the wardrobe and the director maybe 6 months before the shoot, and they said I couldn't trim my beard, so I had to grow a really long beard. And they measured you up, and so your costumes were ready for you. And then we got on set, and I met some fantastically amazing Judy Dench. I met Tim Piggott Smith, and I'll come on to him in a second. So that was amazing. Yeah, there was some really amazing. Eddie Izzard, had a good chat with him. So we were on set. We played a bit, and we had these in-ear monitors, so we could hear what we played at Abbey Road. So we were miming to that, and that was all done. And we did the filming. It lasted for 2 days, and that was great. But with Tim Piggott Smith, he was a fantastic actor. he passed away not long after the filming, and I had a good chat with him because he had a strong love for Indian music, for sitar as well. So when he did pass away, I played at his funeral, and I played for events afterwards for his family, which was lovely, lovely people. Yeah, so I was on the camera. We went to the Isle of Wight for the shoot to do that, and then in the end they didn't. I'm on camera, you'll see me, but I must say that it's not my sitar playing in the background. The funny thing is that I got a phone call maybe 4 or 5 months after I did the shoot, and they said, "Hi, this is famous booker, this fixer in London who gets all the musicians for the films." And she said, "Oh yes, we need to borrow one of your sitars for a film." I said, "Oh, okay." And then so this guy came around and borrowed my sitar. And I said, "Did you play?" He goes, "Yeah, I play a bit of sitar, but I mainly play guitar." I said, "Oh, okay." So he borrowed my sitar, took it to Abbey Road, did a recording, and it was him who was playing on Victorian Abdul. And so yeah, so it's not my playing underneath when you see me on screen.
Oh, that's a very, very secret thing you have shared with us, actually.
It's very cheeky, but it's just the way it is. It's yeah. Never mind.
Do you remember any other funny incident, while shooting or while, in the set?
No, do you know what? Filming is really boring. A lot of the actors will tell you. A lot of actors go to theatre, and they love being on stage in theatre because it's spontaneous. It's spontaneous. You're performing. Sometimes you're improvising on stage. But we were doing one scene. I was in one scene. So if you watch it, you'll see me in one scene. And it took a day and a half to film that one scene. Why? Because they have to get all the different camera angles. So when you see it, it looks seamless. They said, wow, this camera's coming in from here. But they have to move all the equipment from one side to the other. So you're hanging around for a very long time. You're hanging around, you're drinking tea, and then you do the same thing over and over again. So that one scene where Judy Dench walks up to the throne or a big seat and sits down, I saw that about 45 times over and over again, and at the end of it, it's like, oh no, not again. But you need to get take after take after take, and the same with musicians being in the studio. You take after take, you get it right, get it right. Yeah, so it's not as much fun as people might think.
I think one need a lot more patience to be a actor or actresses. Like they need patience.
They need patience and stamina because you got to keep the same enthusiasm by saying the same line over and over again. It must be very difficult.
Definitely. So, like, if I ask you, the first time you actually performed publicly and till date, how do you feel? Like, what is the most challenging aspect of this, the journey?
Self belief. We always have demons in ourselves. Self doubt is a big thing. You when you go on stage, you got to have a bit of bravado about you. You got to have just you just got to have that confidence, and it's that fine line of overconfidence. If you go in there and you're nervous wreck, then that comes through and you're playing. Everyone's nervous when you go on stage, but you've just got to, as you get older, when you first start, you have all that energy, and then I went through that, but I'd only been playing for about 5 years then, and then I went through a big stage of self doubt, and then came out the other side with a lot of training from my Guruji and everything, and now I I don't care if I make a mistake because we all do, and
Yeah.
it's just and realize, and also from with my record company, there's lots of old recordings that we release, and I've seen modern productions of classical Western performers, and the old ones they did it in maybe 2 or 3 takes. There's wrong notes everywhere, but it doesn't matter because it's that journey, the piece The phrasing is beautiful. And if you try and get everything perfect all the time, then you're going to lose some of that feeling. So I just play what comes into my head, and sometimes it works,
It's
sometimes it doesn't.
it is such a lovely confession, John. Like you said, oh, we do mistakes, and it's fine. We obviously we enjoy the journey rather than just get hold of that the mistake part.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it's quite nice to make a big mistake early on, because then you relax. You think, well, I've messed that up, so it doesn't, it doesn't matter what happens next. So,
And
when I'm here, when I'm playing in the studio and practicing, yeah, things work. But when you're on stage, it's slightly different. Sometimes you play 80% of what you can do just because you think, I'm not confident that's going to come off. Especially some of the rhythmical stuff, Legari and the DIs, you think, yeah, you know what? Maybe next time I'll hold back on that. But yeah, so there's that challenge of the self-doubt.
true, and that is somewhere it's kind of a life lesson because either we can moan about it, feel sad, or we can change the thing by trying to play correct and move on and enjoy the journey. That's
Yeah,
what.
yeah, you're right. You are right. And also to be slightly cavalier about it because, well, what I do personally, nobody's going to die from what I do. I'm not a brain surgeon, so if I make a mistake, then, hey, that's fine. And so I try to keep it quite light-hearted as well.
Great. On this note, John, I would definitely ask you, like every day is not same, right? There are always in our lives, there are always ups and downs, and we have difficult and different day. But obviously, there could be any performances or any recordings, whatever it is. How do you balance yourself from?
Balance myself from.
It's more like, you're having a difficult day, but obviously you have to perform or you have to do a recording.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this is why at the beginning I said that I came from my parents were professional musicians, as in, we didn't have sing-songs at home. And so I think I probably inherited a bit of that. If I'm having a bad day at home or something, whatever's happening at home, that won't affect my music because that's my time when when I'm playing. And also, if one day, say if one day I'm practicing, it's not happening, I put the sitar down and walk out because there's no point battling against it. Tomorrow it'll be fine. Tomorrow, just get back onto it tomorrow. So yeah, I don't think it's a nice balance with with personal life and with music. And thankfully I don't have that many bad days really.
True. That's a great attitude.
How bad it could be, all my family's safe, wonderful family, so that's fine. And I've got a roof over my head. Doesn't matter.
True. I think especially after year 2020, I think we have learned to accept anything and everything.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Coming to your now, what you do generally in your spare time?
Well, I've got 3 kids, so well, what do I do in my spare time?
You don't have it?
No, I don't. I mean, well, so today I had to send off an order to Japan for the record company, and then an order up to the north of England for the record company. I have to do the VAT return soon on the record company. I have to do some practice. I tidy the house. The day's finished. I do like to play my PS4, but I haven't touched that in about 3 months.
And this is the time, like it's not we are going out quite frequently. There are certain limitations yet, so and you're still so busy.
Yeah. Because I mean, the record company is nothing's stopped there. I can still writing and still a bit of teaching and online performances and practice. So there's definitely loads to be getting on with.
Yeah, I can well imagine how busy a day could be then in a new normal circumstances.
Yeah.
Sure. So what we are going to get in year 2021 from you as your upcoming projects, you did mention before, but in more.
Okay, so there is the Sitar concerto that's going to be released on First Hand Records, and that's hopefully come out in 2021. I've also looking to get some funding for a project called Raga Music for Solo Western Instruments. So the idea is to write maybe 10 or 15 pieces for different Western instruments, but write out an Indian performance for them. So, there's this thing about Indian music. A lot of Westerners think, "Oh, I can't play. I don't understand that." You improvise. But if you took the improvisation section out of it and you wrote down all of the Alaap, Jala, and also the gut and everything with the doubler player, then it enables the Western musician to play an Indian genre. Now, it won't sound completely Indian, obviously, because their phrasing is different, but the elements will definitely be there. So the idea is to widen the audience of Indian music, and it means that a flute player or clarinet or vibraphone, remember, what else are we going to go for? Oboe. They will be able to take this piece by Jonathan Mayer and then play it, find the tabla player, and the tabla player will be able to fit in. And then it's a new thing for a Western concert hall as well. So it sort of it's two-way things, isn't it? So it enables the Indian audience to experience the Western instruments, but within their genre. But it also enables the Western audience to experience a bit of India in the comfort of their written music. Yeah. So
Right.
fingers crossed I get that funding, and that's going to keep me really busy. And then I've
Now,
also got some concert tours next year as well.
it seems like it's quite a research-based project actually. It's just not a project. It's a lot of work behind it, and it's amazing to hear something very new which you are going to do at the moment. So all the very best.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. It is. I I did the research, and it's never been done before. So I know how to write for these instruments, but I also I can speak to a oboist or a clarinetist or whatever, and get the extended techniques of how to write for them and write it out, and it'll be a collaboration. And hopefully by the end of next year we'll get some performances of that.
All the very best. Our best wishes. Obviously, it's with you. How time flies, John. It's we are having such an interesting and it's very nice conversation, and it's really difficult to end this conversation, but somewhere we have to actually, now we are almost at the end of our conversation. I would definitely like to ask you your experience while performing in Doberlin Music Conference. That is such a prestigious music conference in Kolkata.
Yeah.
So please share your thoughts.
Well, I'll tell you how it came about. So my Guruji, Pandit Subudra Chowdhury, he passed away a few years ago. And when he did, a year after he passed away, I was invited to play in Kolkata at the ICCA, I think it is, hall. And so there we did a performance with there's me and two of my guru bhais as well, Indrajit Roy Chaudhary and Matthias as well. So we did this concert in memory of him. And then the year after that, we were invited to play at Doberlin music conference. So it was just three of us on stage. And yeah, we opened one of the evenings. It was great. It was very much on and then off sort of thing. Lots of I remember there being lots of microphones, maybe too many microphones, but that was great. And obviously you're playing to an appreciative audience, and everyone seemed to like it, so it was good. I really enjoyed it.
It is such a lovely to hear from you your experience, because I am from Kolkata, and obviously Doberlin Music Conference is such a big event for all of, for I should say this, for the city of joy.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing your thoughts.
That's okay.
Can I request you to end this Alaap e-Ashor's episode with some of your compositions?
Exactly. So I'm going to play. Actually, this is a composition by my Guruji. and it's on Rag Kamaj.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful, completely mesmerized, and keep mesmerized, keep spreading this magic to all of us.
I shall try.
Stay well and stay safe. And once again, thank you so much for your time and your lovely performances and everything for Alaap e-Ashor viewers. It's our pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Music sets the mood. I have a lovely time and a lovely conversation with Jonathan today. Share your views and comments on Alaap e-Ashor Facebook page. And I hope you like this episode. Keep watching Alaap e-Ashor. I'll be back with a new guest and we'll be sharing and having another nice conversation. See you soon. Take care, stay safe, and stay well. Bye.